afternoon, and welcome to our second day of ELT Week Argentina 2025. My name is Mariela Masuyama. I'm Head of English Programs at the British Council Argentina, and I will be your host for today. If you were unable to join yesterday, we encourage that you take the time to watch our sessions in our YouTube channel on this same playlist. We had fantastic sessions with Pilar Capaul and Paula. First off, let me remind you that safeguarding is a priority for the British Council, so you're welcome and encouraged to share your comments and questions in the chat, making sure that you maintain respectful and positive communication, and remembering not to share any personal or sensitive information. Please note that harmful, violent, or inappropriate comments will not be tolerated, and you can report a concern through the email contact and channels that we're posting in the chat. Now, if you wish to receive a certificate of attendance issued by the British Council, you will be asked to complete a short survey at the end of the week, and the survey link will be shared in the chat box and also by email after the last session on Friday. Now, please make sure that your name, surname, and email address are correctly spelled when you complete that form, so you get your certificate with accurate details. Now, without further ado, let us know where you're joining from. I can see many people joining from Posadas, Misiones, from Córdoba, from Catamarca as well. So welcome you all. Today we have a fantastic session. So without further ado, we're going to introduce our first speaker today. It's great pleasure to have her. She's a very close friend of the British Council, Eugenia Dell Osa. She's a very dedicated ELT professional who has had a career since 1995 with more than 20 years of classroom experience. Eugenia has contributed to the creation and implementation of bilingual curriculums in kindergartens, primary schools, and teacher development courses. She has spoken everywhere at national and international conferences such as FAPI, IATEFL's YTL SIG, Brastisel, Paratiesel, and Beta Conference. Eugenia coordinates teacher groups in various educational contexts and leads two innovative diplomas in teaching EFL at Universidad de Morón. She's a lifelong learner and passionate about exploring non-traditional teaching methods. So we welcome Eugenia.
Hello, everyone. I'm so happy to be here once again. I hope everybody is fine there. Can you hear me well, Mariela? Is everything okay?
Yes.
Great, fantastic. So I am very happy to be here, I was saying, and I am sharing with you today a very nice talk, a talk to get ready to start classes. Most of us are getting ready to a new school year, and I think these activities I am sharing today are really practical and can help you plan your lessons thoughtfully. So today we are working on crafting dynamic environments for today's learners. And this is our agenda, only 3 points. Let's see, are you ready for this? We're going to talk about today's learners. Then we will talk about the 6 C's in action. We usually talk about or mention 4 C's. Why 6? That's what we will discover. And then you will have a doggy bag, something you will take with you, a goodie bag, as a present to start the year. But first, if you have been part of any of my presentations before, I like getting connected. And I think the things you can see right now on the screen are essentials in every lesson. The agenda and some brain gym. Can you see that brain exercising there? I think these 2 components are crucial in every lesson. The agenda to help our students lower their anxiety, to focus on the routine and to know what is to come and what to expect from us teachers. And brain gym at the very beginning or at any moment during the class, when you see you need to change the mood, when the atmosphere is like they are too excited or they are dozing off because they are tired, because they have been sitting on the same chair for many hours. So we use brain gym there. The idea of brain gym activities is to help their brains get ready to what is to come, to focus on new things that we are doing, to get some synapses among those neurons in their brains so that they are ready to learn. So the traditional one, the activity I usually do for brain gym has to do with putting your right hand on your nose, your left hand on your right ear, and then you swap from one side to the other. And as any kind of gym exercise or activity, when you perform this activity many, many times, it's easy peasy for you and for your brain. So it is not a challenge for me now to do this one. So I will invite you to do a new one today. This is thumb up from one hand and pointing finger from the other. Can you see that? I think you can. And now we swap. And this is more challenging for me because I haven't practiced. So I start doubting and I can challenge my brain this way. That's the point of brain gym activities. So if you want, we can do this all together. Thumb up from one hand, mine is right hand, and pointing finger from the left hand, and we change and we swap there. The background is bothering, but I think we can do it. And then I make mistakes, and that's the point. Challenging the brain, giving the brain an order that he's not used to doing. And you perform 1-2 brain gym activities with your students, the brain gets that synapses that says, I am ready to start. And I am ready to start. And I hope you are too. Because this is our first question today. Today's learners. What are today's learners like? If we had the chance, if this were a face-to-face meeting, I would ask you to get together in pairs, in threes or in small groups, and to chat a little bit about today's learners. Would you like to use the chat and write what today's learners are like? What are they like? Are they energetic? And I am talking about any age group, not precisely primary or teenagers. Are they easy to motivate? Are they challenging? So the idea is to discuss together what our students need. Going back to my example, if this were an in-person talk or meeting, this thinking routine would be great. And this is something you can use with your students. You pose a question, you ask them a question, you ask them to think their own ideas, then to get together in threes or in pairs or in groups of 4 and to share and explain their ideas. So this is a great thinking routine you can use. Let's see, for me, this slide summarizes what our learners are like today. Do you agree? Some of them show disgust, some of them show anger, some of them show fear, some others show sadness, some others are very anxious, some other students are really embarrassed, and then I don't know whether we have envy or not, but some others are very lazy, and some are really joyful. So there is no other way to describe learners nowadays. Like these, you have everything in a classroom. We have all different personality traits, and even moods in one single lesson. And perhaps the same person can go through all of these moods along the year, along a week. the thing is, we need to get ready to face this. We need to get ready to have students who are ready and willing to learn. So I have an idea. I will tell you what happened to me when I was working with a fifth grade last year. We were working on it was like a very informal lesson. And I said, I know what I'm going to do. I like having oral activities a lot and having them speaking, and I kind of pulling some language out from their mouths. So I went like, okay, let's play. And I said, the odd one out. Look at these farm animals. Tell me, which is the odd one out? Which is the odd one out for you? What would you say? What do you think? Is it the cow? Is it the sheep? Is it the hen? Is it the pig? I will tell you what I expected. I expected my students to say the hen, 2 legs and the others have 4 legs, and that was it. And I wanted to go on with the second picture I had to work on the odd one out activity. And to my surprise, 28 or almost 30 students, nobody said the hen. They went like, I know, the cow, because it's the only one that has spots. Oops, I said, you're right. And somebody else said, the pig. The pig. Yes, because of the twisted tail it has. Oops, you're right. Somebody else said the sheep, because it's the only one that has wool, or the fur is different. And I said, wow. So this helped me and got me to think about this idea of, in general, I bring things that have one possible answer, and that give my students the chance to choose only one. With this one, I said, well, in fact, they were telling me the odd one out from their perspective, the odd one out through their eyes, which was very different. The odd one out was absolutely different from mine. And I said, they are right. Some other time, another anecdote related to this, I said, we're going to, and this was kindergarten, I was going to tell the story of the 5 little ducks, which they already knew. So I went like, do you know the story? It is 5 little ducks with puppets and everything, of course. 5 little ducks went out one day. So lots of miming, lots of play within the story. But when I was producing my puppets, I said, and this is Daddy Duck, because in my song you have Daddy Duck and not Mummy Duck. And I said, Mummy Duck is not here. And my narrow mind said, she went shopping. And one of the kids said, perhaps she's working. And they were 4 years old. And this came to me as I was illuminated. And I said, that was me, I have to change my mindset. I have to be open to new responses from students. I need to listen to them more. They need to be heard more. So I needed to think outside the box. So we were talking about today's learners, and the idea for today's learners is to get like the definition for an optimal classroom environment. So what is an optimal classroom environment? An optimal classroom environment is a place where students are interacting collaboratively and what is being taught is fully student-centered. There are multiple ways for students to demonstrate learning, and these are available and encouraged with student input. The teacher has embedded real-life connections to students' cultures and life experiences. Teachers also provide lessons and activities that align with higher order applications and creative thinking. So can you think of Bloom's taxonomy and their higher order thinking skills? Students can voice and present through their cultural lens in ways that value and honor their lived experiences and backgrounds. So, to sum this up, these are the 21st century skills. So, these are the essentials for classroom environment. When I introduced this odd one out activity, I did not take into account that they could see it some other way. When I was talking about the five little ducks, I did not take into account that they have their own perspective. And this is what we are doing today. I said the 6 C's. Why the 6 C's? Because I am basing this on Michael Fullan's theory of the 6 C and deep learning. So he talks about creativity, he talks about character education, citizenship, communication, critical thinking and problem solving, and collaboration. Mind you, by the end of this talk, you will have access to this presentation. So if you like the slides, you will receive them. So to talk a little bit before going into the practical part, to talk a little bit about Fullan's theory, he talks about the deep learning theory and the 6 C's and associating these to the optimal classroom environment, the optimal learning environment. We talk about authentic communication and what is it that we teachers do for this. We plan with project-based learning because these activities bring real-world connections and problem solving to our lessons. We think about critical thinking tasks, such as analyzing texts, discussing ethical dilemmas, collaborative activities where they have different roles in groups. It is not to get in groups and work on this together. It is get in groups and what's my job? What's my responsibility here? What is it that I have to do? So group discussions, peer feedback, and lots to do with active communication, with being there to say something because you express your own opinion and thoughts, and being there to actively listen to others, to be an active listener here. Technology enhanced learning. We know our learners and they were born with technology. So we can introduce digital storytelling and storytelling with books and storytelling with drama techniques. But the idea is they need variety. Interactive simulations, there are many things we know we can do, especially with AI today, nowadays. And then going back to the authentic communication, we can also talk about cross-curricular connections, CLIL, content and language integrated learning approaches that integrate language with subject content. All of these provide us teachers with a meaningful context to learn. All of these components help our students connect with the language in a meaningful way. So, Fullan's 6 C's are creativity, collaboration, critical thinking and problem solving, communication, citizenship, and character education. And this is what we are going to do now with examples. So in order to catch our students' attention, the good thing is to start with something that surprises them, with something that, wow, look at what she's brought today. That's fantastic. So we can think of something that is hooking, some hooking input, something that gets them like, oh, wow, this aha moment when it's, wow, I love this. So we will start with some question time. And I will ask you now, who does the shopping at home? Do you walk to the grocery store or do you drive there? Do you have groceries delivered? Because nowadays we can have them delivered at home, or do you pick them up? So that's interesting, and perhaps the answers are quite different, because we can all be in different places in the country or even abroad, different characteristics in the areas where we live. But I would like to see how you react to the video we're going to watch right now, because I would love to have my groceries delivered this way. Can we have the video?
It's the future, Michael.
Oh, I'm not Michael. Oh, don't worry, he calls everyone Michael.
Okay. Did you like the video? What was that? We had different famous cars from different films, from different moments, and I can tell you that I can recognize them all. Yes, perhaps not all of you. Perhaps we have very young people in the audience, but I can recognize them all. I know where they are from. So this is my hooking input. It's getting my students like, wow, that's a nice ad. And we talk about ads and we talk about commercials. And my question is, could you identify any of these cars? Can you use the chat for this? Which cars could you see? Let me see your answers. There were some from different films, some others from cartoons. Okay, good. The Flintstones, Transformers, Bumblebee was there, yes. All of them, Back to the Future, Laura, yes, hello. Somebody wrote Scooby-Doo, the Flintstones, Back to the Future. Okay, great, well done, well done. And here they are. Here you have them. We had Batman's at the very beginning. Cinderella's, yes. Transformers, Cars. We have McQueen. We had Kit, the Knight Rider. This is very 80s, isn't it? The DeLorean, yes, Sole. The fantastic car, you're right. Dumb and Dumber, yes, good, Mariano. Yes, Cinderella's. And we have, so then you have them here. Batman, Dumb and Dumber, Cinderella's, the Ghostbusters, Vacation. This is really 80s, isn't it? The Flintstones, Kit the Knight Rider, The Mystery Machine from Scooby-Doo's, Bumblebee, McQueen, Jurassic Park with the little dinosaurs there, and Back to the Future, the DeLorean. First thing I have to say, when I see a commercial like this, at my age, most probably, what I think, I have memories from my childhood. So as you associate these input you are giving, the moment you start a new project with something that brings a good memory, a nice memory to your classroom, you will have them speaking and sharing. They will say, I want to tell you that I saw this and that I saw that. perhaps this video for a primary classroom is not appropriate because they might not recognize many of these cars. But as Gabriela says, emotions are connected to this part of them, at least for me. I am 48 years old, so I could live all of these as part of perhaps my childhood or even when I was a teenager. So it is connecting and bonding with nice memories, isn't it? And it is starting your project in a different way. So I am starting my project like this, and then I ask them, how many wheels were there? 10 magical 80s, I agree. How many wheels were there? Ah, you are not paying attention to this piece of information. So I add some novelty. 48? No maths for me. Language teachers, we do not like maths. 48, 46. Oh, Andrea, I would like to know why you say 46. Why 46? Shall we go back? Shall we check? This is great. So were you expecting this question? You weren't. We were 48 for Vale. Hello, Vale. How many cars are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There are 12 cars. 12 times 4. But wait, do they all have 4? They don't. Look at the Flintstones. The Flintstones car only has 2 wheels. So there are 46. Good. Good for those. For those who said 46 in the chat box. Well done. Yes, you're right. You were paying attention. So the idea is this. We are sharing something that is hooking for them, something that is attractive, something that reminds them of their childhood and connects with good memories and nice memories. So there is social emotional learning involved. They are enjoying this. And then I start with a question like, what's this? How many wheels? I did not pay attention to the wheels. So they need to make an effort to connect with numbers. We can say that we are applying multiple intelligences here, the logical mathematical intelligence for those who are keen on numbers, who like numbers and say, I know because they paid attention, and those who are very visual and got the picture of the number of cars the moment we shared the image, perhaps not from the video. So there are lots of things. That from simple activities we can do to connect our students with the different channels of perception. We had a video. I am speaking all the time. We mentioned the names. There was social emotional learning. So we had audio, we had video, and kinesthetic in this case has to do with emotions, with referring to a memory, and that's good. Isn't it nice to get connected with something you like, you loved? So that was a way to hook them through what I call novelty in the classroom. It's like bringing something that they are not expecting. Now, let's get into the language part. We are teachers of English. We want to teach the language. So we want to trigger curiosity. Remember that the first C here was curiosity. And we are asking them, how much do you know about these cars? Some of them, so you can tell me, how much do you know? Which is the oldest? Which is your favorite? And the key factor here is to ask them questions all the time. So let's get 2 parts from this activity. First of all, if you ask them questions that matter, questions that generate this curiosity that are factual, because they can say, this is the fastest car because I think so. They are giving ideas. They have factual information to support their answers, and they are interested in this. There is some kind of real world connection, even though these cars are from movies, but they are connected to something they've already seen or done in this case. The key factor is to ask why, to invite them. And why do you think it is the fastest? And why do you think it is the oldest? Can you justify those answers? Why? Which is your favorite? Tell me about what you like and what you don't like. The thing is, I am asking why, I am connecting with their own ideas, generating this curiosity. I could also ask them, how would you classify them? And then you get them in groups, and there is collaboration there, because they say, okay, we can classify them according to the numbers of wheels they have. So 2 categories, the Flintstones car there, and then the others. But then according to the type of movie, according to whether they appeared in cartoons or not. So this has to do with the curiosity. This has to do with developing this skill, which we can all develop. We want our students to be curious, to want to learn more about any new information. But then there is the other part, because we are teachers of a language and we want them to speak. So when you combine the 6 C's, or at least in this particular case, curiosity, with the speaking skill, you're asking them to give you more, and perhaps more sentences, more questions, and you keep on asking them, basing your content on something that is interesting for them. So that would be one idea according to curiosity. Now, I have divided my slides in 2. We have creativity as the first C here, according to Fullen's theory, and target language. So let's concentrate on the target language, and we say, famous cars. We are talking about famous cars. What are these cars like? Can you use adjectives, adverbs, parts of the car, the amenities they have? So I invite my students, after describing all of these cars and their characteristics, and this is what I concentrate on when planning my lesson. This is what I expect from my students. I ask them, okay, describe your ideal car. So I gave them lots of input. We revised many adjectives and adverbs and specific vocabulary, such as the parts of the car and the amenities a car can have. Yes. And then I ask them, okay, can you describe? And they get together and they create something. So working on creativity, they say, my ideal car is super cool. It's bright red, like a fire truck. It's a magic car. It can fly in the sky. I can visit my grandma really fast. She lives far away, you know. Inside, the car has a big bed, so I can sleep on long trips. There's also a fridge with all my favorite snacks and drinks, and a TV to watch cartoons. This is an amazing car for adventures. So I am inviting my students to do some writing while developing their creativity. Now let's pass on to the next one. I ask my students to work and edit this writing. So get together with a mate in groups of 3, in groups of 4, get together and try to improve that text. We're concentrated on the target language column. And it says they improved this text, and it says, my ideal car is super cool. It's bright red, like a fire truck. It's a magic car. So same ideas, they polished some mistakes they had. And then I say, okay, build a prototype, but okay, we cannot build a car. So let's use AI. So what they did was to write this description, to improve it. So they worked on the editing, the edition of this paragraph and this description, and they gave this information to an image generator. In this case, we used Leonardo, and they created that image. The good thing with this is that this is not what they expected. So what did they do? They could go back to the text, edit their text again, work on this process writing idea, but on their own. So they worked on this process writing with their own piece of the description they had of the car, and they started trying again and again and again till they got to the image they imagined or the image they wanted. So they had different images now. And we keep on focusing on the target language. The text is a different one now, and it says, "My ideal car is super cool. It's bright red," because when we wrote the fire truck, it kept on designing an image similar to a fire truck, and that was not what they wanted. It has hidden wings. It can fly. It is extremely fast. Inside the car, there is a big bed. There is also a fridge with all my favorite snacks and drinks, and a TV to watch cartoons. So the thing is, they had to, from different images they had to analyze, because then what we did was to swap the descriptions and the images they had, and they had to choose which the odd one out was, because there is one of these images that does not have all of those components from the description. So we used AI. We were relating to techie devices. They were concentrated on that. They liked that idea, and they kept on working on the writing part. They even edited their own piece of writing together. They improved it according to the images they got from AI. But this is C, number 3, critical thinking and problem solving. They needed to solve these ideas of the car. And now another one. We wanted to describe this as the best car in the market. So from the options we chose one, and they had to design an advertisement. So if I want to work on communication, and I tell my students, we're going to design an advertisement, we need to stop and analyze what an advertisement is like. Show them other advertisements and say, which is the kind of language? Do we have long descriptions for advertisements or catchy sentences? Do we need to describe the whole, amenities the car provides you with, or is it something that is catchy from an image and 2 or 3 keywords? So we're telling them about how to analyze advertisements. We're getting to the point, and we are working on communication skills, because with a simple ad, we are helping them understand that not all the texts have the same meaning or purpose. So we work on the communication skills, and we help them express appropriately. That was C number 4. Now we have C number 5, which is citizenship. We have the prototype of the car. The design is perfect. It is like the ideal car. It is very, very cheap for our teachers, so we can all afford it. But there is a problem. We did not take into account cell phone devices. And the target language I want to concentrate on now is, I want my students to create a campaign related to something very specific. So I ask my students, is your prototype car compatible with a cell phone device? So we will watch this video now, and then we discuss the activity. Lily, are you there? Great. These people are going to the cinema. They do not know what is going to happen. They are just interested in watching a film. And this is the typical commercial or ad you have before watching the film. happened? Mobile use is now the leading cause of death in car crashes. So a reminder to keep your eyes on the road. What's your idea about this? What do you think?
Thank you so much for giving.
Are we there? Thank you. So what do you think about this? The commercial, it's a car brand. The commercial has to do with raising awareness of the use of the cell phone as you are driving. And this was great. This was fantastic. When you get the PDF of this presentation, you have the link to both videos. Isn't this great to talk with teenagers about the use of their cell phones, and even when driving, not only in the classroom, not only the amount of hours they use their cell phone, but this was a real case used as a commercial, but they tried this with people who were all sitting. Everybody got a text message at the same time because they had this kind of radar that could get their cell phones. And when they looked at their cell phones, because they got the text, they could see the car crash, or they crashed. It was like, wow, shocking. So this is raising awareness, and this has to do with citizenship, helping your students become conscious, absolutely conscious of the things we need to do, we need to work on, we can do and we can't do. So this was citizenship. That is number 5, the C number 5. The last C here was character education. And this has to do with not only citizenship, but values and sharing with our students the good things to live in a healthy society, but healthy in many different ways, in a physically fit, healthy society, and in a mentally healthy society. Mental health is something very important. There are things we can do to help them become aware, help them take into account, help them value. And this, in this case in particular, we keep on talking about the cars. And the idea is your prototype, the car they decide, compatible with sustainable transportation? So, oops, that was not a requirement when we needed to design the car. So you bring the topic, a new topic to talk about. And my backbone was famous cars, and we had different topics to mention and to talk about. So here the idea was what is sustainable transport? So we talk about healthy kinds of transport, something that is cheap, something that is accessible, that has low social and environmental impact. So there are many things. And the activity I designed for this was a debate. So we work on moral reasoning and ethical perspectives on these topics. We help them explore different things connected to the real world through speaking. So think of this. We had some writing today. We also had lots of speaking. And as we think of the language teacher we all have inside, when we work with creativity, we worked with reading, we worked with writing, we worked with speaking. We can, and here you have some suggestions. You can use role play activities among the cars. You can play a guessing game according to the level of English your students have, or even their age. One starts describing the car and they have to guess from the famous cars we had before, matching activities, miming activities. So you can foster the linguistic skills with different ideas. When they have to design the prototype of the car, you can include STEAM activities. STEAM stands for science, technology, engineering, arts, and maths. So you ask them to create with different materials, a tangible one, something that they can touch and create a prototype. You can talk about the cars superheroes have, which are like the superpowers these superheroes have with their cars. Personality traits, because many of these cars are they have like the human side, and they have humanistic characteristics. So let's put this into practice. Okay, what is it like? What does it do? The Knight Rider was telling Michael to everybody, every single man he saw. We can talk about opinions. We can describe and talk about their preferences. So we keep on thinking of different activities to cover the 4 linguistic skills while working on the 21st century skills from the 6 Fulham suggests. You can play I Spy with the little ones. You can talk about the pros and cons of the different cars, the artificial intelligence designed for them. You can think about visual thinking, and that is related to slow watching, slow description of cars. These images are too small for you, but if you get into the details, you can see little things there. You can pose a problem or solution for them, a problem for them to solve, or a solution to find the problem. So the idea of coming and going with information. When we talked about communication, we can talk about and use different tech resources. We can describe new cars. We can think of the ideal car for 2050. What is the car of the future like? When I was a kid, everybody said that by the year 2000, we would have flying cars everywhere. I haven't seen any yet. We need to ask them to justify their answers. We need to ask them, remember what I said at the beginning, ask them more questions. You should be the one always asking and asking them to give you more information, asking why all the time. Character education, you can organize debates with different positions they choose, or you give them the situation and they have to stand in that situation and persuade others according to their thoughts based on those on the situations you gave them. Bring documentals to raise awareness. Help them bring social awareness around the community, and change the mindset. Change that student we saw at the beginning with inside out characters, like they are like, no, I don't want to do anything, or they are angry and they are mad at you. We need change. And change has to do with thinking outside the box. Remember that odd one out activity? When I expected one answer from them, and my student had many different answers, and that opened my eyes. And they showed me that I needed to be more flexible, that I needed to change the way I planned my lessons. In order to finish, I will invite you, before saying thank you and telling you how to get the material I said. Are you all familiar with this song? And it's great because I will be singing alone here. I'm sorry about that, but are you all familiar with this? It goes like, I got a feeling that tonight's gonna be a good night, that tonight's gonna be a good night, that tonight's gonna be a good night. And you can go on. So my idea is, let's change. When we get into our classes next Monday or the following after carnival time, let's start singing something different. Let's go with, I got a feeling that today's gonna be a good class, that today's gonna be a good class, that today's gonna be a good class. So I hope you find these activities useful, that you start implementing Fulham's 6 C's and his deep learning theory, and that you start replacing that tonight for today and night for class here, that today is going to be a good class and that we all have a great year. So the doggy bag today has to do with you taking this PDF in case you want the ideas handy, and you get the links to the videos we showed here. And this is a reflection I wrote for you because I think we need to be really aware of this. Each generation brings its own set of values, beliefs, and worldviews. And we need to be really aware of this thought. Our role as teachers is to guide them through their learning path. No doubt about that. They need to be heard, valued, and supported. We are their teachers. English is the subject we chose, not them. So we need to help them become the best version of themselves. And I think the 21st century skills will help us all a lot, connecting the real world with our lessons, with our students' interests. When they leave the classroom and they said, wow, this that I am watching on TV now is something we mentioned at school, or they are walking around the street, they see some ad, some banner or something, and is related to something that was a purposeful activity in the lesson, to use English in a meaningful way. And that does not mean that we are not going to practice grammar, that we are not going to revise vocabulary. The idea is that we do this, but also connect them with a meaningful use of the language. It's so nice to see people I know writing on the chat. Thank you very much. This is what you will see in the PDF. You will get the links to the videos. This is the QR code to get to my Instagram account, and I will send you the PDF ASAP. Yes, here we are. You have the QR code there. Thank you, people, very much. Thank you, Lily and Mariela, for helping me, Robert for the invitation, and the British Council. Thank you very much. We can't hear you, Maria.
Sorry, just a big thank you. It's very generous of you to be sharing the material and the presentation. We will also be posting the materials to all the presentations towards the end of the week and sharing them with participants. People are most impressed in the chat by your singing. I hope you know that, but also by all the practical ideas that you've shared with us today to engage learners. I wanted to pick up a couple of questions from the chat. Great. I'm afraid we only have a few minutes left, but one comment that I'd like to share coming from Cynthia Lazarte, she reinforces this idea that we should never forget students are at the center of our lessons. I think you've made that super clear today.
Absolutely. Yes.
One tricky comment here.
Yeah.
No, something that stood out to me was a comment by Clarissa Terminiello here, who mentions that she can think of all these activities as a project to do once per term, but perhaps not for every lesson. So when you show us this type of project, we could say unit design, how do you envision implementing this? This is obviously not all the ideas that you presented today would fit into a 1-hour lesson. So how does one?
And not even one afternoon. If your lesson is, if you have classes every single day and you have 3 hours a day, that is the whole week, this would take much longer. But these are like the key factors I would include in order to work with the 6 C's. That's what I said. Right in the middle, we work with the grammar I want to focus on. They need time to design the activity. So these things are like the highlights of my project. In the middle, we have lots of activities and lots of things to do that will complement this, will supplement all these activities. So you work with the grammar, you work with the vocabulary, and you even reinforce that vocabulary. That's why we have like ups and downs, because there are things, there was no proper reading comprehension activity. And perhaps I bring an article telling the story of one of those famous cars. And they need to work on those. Mm-hmm.
Definitely. We also have a question from Magali Alderete Vega in the chat, who wonders, can we apply these tips in adult learner classes?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Even if they are a beginner or elementary level, you are getting them hooked, especially if they are my age, that adult, I mean, adulthood age I'm talking about, but you're bringing memories. And when you learn something from a moment you're enjoying, you're having fun with, you're having a good time, you store it in your long-term memory here at the back of your head. So it's easier to learn things when you're having a good time. Absolutely. I would definitely do this with adults.
Yes, I think it shows the amount of debate that was going on in the chat. I know you couldn't quite follow, but when you mentioned how many wheels are in the cars in the commercial, it sparked a lot of debate. So I think these ideas can definitely engage adults as well.
I think
all right.
The essential thing is helping them get surprised. If everything is like every single class the same, when you bring something different, that novelty, it's like, wow. And that's what hooks them into the lesson, that what keeps them thinking, no matter their age.
And one last comment that I would like to mention, that I kind of lost now, but one of the participants, okay, I lost it. Something about students in secondary school lacking previous knowledge. And in the meantime, I'm going to search for who mentioned this in the chat.
I think the idea is
activating previous knowledge.
I think the idea is you know your students. What I am not working at the moment at a bilingual school, so I worked with these activities with kids who have 6 periods of English a week, and we had lots of fun. And I think the idea is to trigger that curiosity and to allow a little bit of Spanish as you negotiate for, okay, let's try to say that in English. How would you say that in English? So connecting that way with the language, kind of generating this bond with the language through their interest in what you are doing. I hope that answers the question.
Yes, thank you so much to everybody pointing out this was Natalia Carranza in the chat. So thank you for that comment as well. And we're going to be wrapping up Eugenia's fantastic session. Okay. If you want to revisit parts of the session, you can always go back. The recording will be on our YouTube channel till the end of time. And you will also get links to all the recorded sessions if you miss one or two this week over your email. So a massive thanks to you, Eugenia. Have a great evening. Everybody. And everyone else, stay tuned with us. I'm going to introduce the next speaker next. But before I do, I want to make some housekeeping comments. I know there are lots of people in the chat asking about attendance and certificates. So we mentioned it at the top, but I'll reiterate this. At the end of the week on Friday, we are going to be sharing in the chat the link to the attendance form for the different sessions for you to get your certificates. So don't worry about this. It's coming on Friday at the end of the live session. And if you missed that one, we will also be sending the link to the attendance form for you to get your certificates via email if you registered. So no worries. And then let me introduce our next speaker now. I would like to introduce Paula Rosana Asad, who is our next speaker. She's a graduate teacher from Profesorado de Inglés, Dr. Julio César Avanza. She's a mindful educator from Mindful Schools. She's a neuropsicoeducadora from Asociación Educar para el Desarrollo Humano. She's the founder and a teacher at Dream Up, Academia de Inglés in Bahía Blanca. She's the president of Asociación de Profesores de Inglés de Bahía Blanca and the creator of the magical teaching program for English language leaders. So it's a great honor to have Paula with us. She's also a teacherpreneur and an advocate for innovative teaching practices. And to change gears a little bit, she's going to be talking about screenless engagement strategies and practical ideas for active learning. So without further ado, we introduce Paula Asad to the floor.
This is my first time presenting for the British Council. Super excited. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. Okay, so let's get started. And to break the ice, tell me, how are you feeling today? You can choose your number and write it in the chat box. Are you feeling like in number 1, super excited? Or like in number 2, or in 3, like skeptical? Or like in number 4, happy, excited to be here? Just write your number in the chat box. Okay, I'm definitely a 4 today. Yeah, super happy to be with you, sharing ideas and learning together, because that's the idea of all these webinars. All right, now, this is my agenda for today. First of all, we are going to talk about the 4 magical ingredients that make any lesson truly engaging and memorable. Then I'm going to share with you some practical activities that inspire intrinsic motivation. After that, I will share with you a magical toolkit with articles, clips, ideas, extra resources you can use this 2025 with your students. And after that, we are going to wrap things up with a clip, okay? So let's get started. Now, these are my goals. To challenge, first of all, the notion that technology is essential for student motivation, and to demonstrate effective tech-free strategies for enhancing student engagement. Now, over to you. What is engagement and why is it important in our classrooms? Could you please write your ideas in the chat box? What comes to your mind when you hear the word engagement? Write what you think. Now, engagement is a word that comes from the Old French that means to commit or pledge. And over time, it expanded to include other meanings such as participation, genuine involvement. That is, engagement is doing things because you want to. And why is it important to have engaged students in our classrooms? Because when students are engaged, they are more likely to participate in our classrooms. And besides, it takes years to become a proficient user of the language. So if our students are not engaged, then the whole learning process will become like an uphill battle. Okay, so we need to have students engage with our lessons, all right? Now, I'm going to present the 4 magical ingredients that you can and you have to use in your lessons to engage and motivate your students. This mind map is based on the self-determination theory developed by Edward Deci and Richard Ryan. And they argued that in order to have motivated students in our classrooms, they need to have autonomy. They need to feel some kind of competence. They need to feel related to the group, yes, part of the classroom community. And I added another element that is fun with purpose, because I truly believe that when students are having fun in our classrooms, content becomes much more memorable and significant for them. Okay. So Let's start with the first magical ingredient, which is autonomy. And I will read this quote by Daniel Pink, and he says, "Control leads to compliance, autonomy leads to engagement." This quote highlights the idea that when students are simply following rules, they are doing so to avoid some kind of punishment. Whereas when they are free to make their own choices, they feel more motivated to learn because they feel responsible for their own learning, right? Now, what can we do in our class to help our students develop this kind of autonomous learning? And I'm going to share some ideas with you. Let's start with the one that for me is the star. The people that know me know I'm a fan of this. And this is project-based learning. You know, project-based learning is a student-centered methodology that starts with a driving question that is going to guide your students through the whole learning process and ends with a final result, with a final product, with a solution to a problem. And throughout that learning process, your students are going to have lots of opportunities to make decisions like who are they going to work with, how they're going to gather information, resources, and how they're going to showcase what they have learned. So, project-based learning, thumbs up. Okay, another wonderful idea that you can do with your learners to help them exercise their voice and choice are choice boards. And what are choice boards? I like to think about them like menus in a restaurant. You know, you go to the restaurant, you choose the type of food you want to eat. Well, this is something similar. You think of your goal, yes, of the purpose of the activities, and you give your students a couple of activities to do, of course, with the same goal in mind. And what your students have to do is to choose the one that aligns with their interests and skills, okay? So this choice board I'm showing here is the choice board I'm going to use with my students this year at the beginning of the year, right? To introduce themselves. If you want it, I can share it with you later. Another idea is the Genius Hour. The Genius Hour is a wonderful activity to do for me at the end of the year. And in this activity, students explore a topic they are passionate about. They investigate about it, and then they showcase what they have learned. Amazing activity that you can do with your students. All right, another important thing that we have to do with our learners is to help them management skills, self-management skills, like setting their own goals or having some kind of control over their progress, over their learning, reflect all their strengths and the things that they have to improve. These are things that we as teachers should guide our learners, right? And setting goals helps students to reflect on what is working and what it needs some kind of adjustment. And what you can see here is a growth tracker. This is something I give my students. In this growth tracker, you can see two main axes. One horizontal axis with the different skills my students or students have to master, and then the grades in the vertical axis. And what they have to do is to color the different columns depending on the grade they got. And below, they have to write 3 things they did well and also something that they have to improve. Of course, after that, with the help of the teacher, student and teacher design the goals for the next term. What are the goals? What are the things we need to do in order to improve in the next term? Okay, we do all this during a conference, a teacher-student conference. All right, now let's move to competence. We have talked about autonomy and how we can promote autonomy in the classroom. And now let's move to competence. Students engage more when they believe they can master a task that is challenging enough to be manageable. And in class, we should foster this belief that we can all improve. Of course, not every student will achieve the same level of mastery, the same level of proficiency, but everyone can improve provided the right kind of support. This is something we have to bear in mind, all right? And here I want to make a quick note about technology. I want to say that technology offers wonderful opportunities for communication, access to information, but on the other hand, it has contributed to a growing tendency among teenagers to shy away from challenges. And whenever they encounter an activity that they find difficult or a challenge, they usually give up. So this is something that we have to bear in mind and try to help our students to change that kind of mindset from a fixed one to a growth mindset. And how can we do this? How can we help our students develop growth mindset? The world of sport, the world athletes that our students are mostly passionate about is great for that. And I will show you a clip, and you will see Mbappé talking about his experience in learning Spanish. And thank you, Leandro Paladino, because you showed me this video. Thank you so much. And I want you to tell me, you can write it in the chat box, if he has a growth mindset or a fixed one. Okay, so here we go.
No fue el mejor en el colegio, pero en español yo fue a 100% porque, como he dicho, yo sabía que tenía este sueño de jugar un día para el Madrid. Cuando llegues y hablas el idioma del país es más fácil para adaptarte. Mi español es bueno, puedo mejorar en todo el vocabulario de la vida porque tengo muchas cosas que tengo que aprender, pero pienso que hablar español todo el día va a ayudarme a mejorar. Y después yo tenía entrenadores español como Luis Enrique y después que habla español como Pochettino, muchos compañeros y ayúdame a hablar y pienso que no tengo miedo de hablar y de hacer error, así que te vas a aprender y al futuro si me voy a hacer errores o si me voy a hacer cosas no buenas, es mejor que la gente, todos me dicen cómo es, porque no tengo problema con eso y quiero mejorar más rápido posible.
Amazing, right? Amazing, the kind of mindset that he has. In general, people from the world of sport have that kind of mindset. And here I have two more clips. One is the one that I'm going to show you now is Beckham talking about Messi. And these are some questions I prepared for my learners. What does Beckham suggest about Messi's mindset and drive to succeed? And do you believe that hard work and preparation are more important than talent? Why? Why not? Let's have a look.
I'll take you back to the first day that he came into our training ground. He arrived at about 6:50 in the morning and there was nobody in the training facility apart from one guy to let him in. And the team weren't training till 10.
What's he doing?
Preparing. He's in the gym, he's warming up, he's doing all of the things that you expect a young kid to do, and he's still doing them now. Everything that he's won in his career, you would expect him to be a bit more relaxed, but he's a winner.
Yeah, he is, definitely. Okay, and now I will show you another clip similar to the one I showed you before. This is Novak Djokovic. And the questions for your students might be, what does Novak Djokovic believe is the key to mental strength? How does he manage his emotions on the court? How do you handle negative emotions? What can you learn from him?
Mental strength, which is what I think is your great gift.
I would have to correct you. I have to correct gift.
It's something that comes with work.
You train for the mental side the way you would your serve or your forehand.
There are different techniques. Conscious breathing is a big part. I might appear maybe locked in, but trust me, there's a storm inside. And the biggest always battle is within. I don't like this kind of a mindset that I see a lot in sports, like just think positive thoughts, be optimistic. There's no room for failure. There's no room for doubts and stuff like this. It's impossible.
You don't buy that.
You are a human being. The difference, I guess, between the guys who are able to be biggest champions and the ones that are struggling to get to the highest level is the ability to not stay in those emotions for too long. So for me, it's really relatively short. So as soon as I experience it, I acknowledge it. I maybe, burst, I scream on the court, whatever happens, but then I'm able to bounce back and reset.
Okay, so it's amazing to show students these clips and then reflect, yes, with some questions. And I know what you might be thinking, Paula, this is screenless engagement. Why is it that you're showing clips and videos? Well, if you don't have internet, if at your school you don't have computers, don't worry, we can do different things. Why not showing your students quotes from famous athletes and the same reflect on their ideas of how to improve and become better? I want to read this quote by Michael Jordan that I think it's amazing. He said, "I've missed more than 2,000 shots in my career. I've lost almost 300 games. 26 times I've been trusted to take the game-winning shot and missed. I failed over and over and over again in my life, and that is why I succeed." Right? So we can show different quotes to our students and reflect about it. And now I'm going to show to show to you some songs that can also help our students to reflect on growth mindset. And we have Try Everything by Shakira, Titanium by David Guetta, Believer, Imagine Dragons, Sia, Unstoppable, one of my favorites. Miley Cyrus, The Climb, Up and Up by Coldplay, my favorite band of all time. Kelly Clarkson, Stronger, and Raw by Katy Perry. Again, you can show them the lyrics of the song and then do some kind of reflection afterwards. Okay, so we talked about growth mindset, and another way to help our students develop competence is through feedback. In education and psychology, feedback refers to the response we give to a person's performance. And the feedback we give to our learners should be concise, that is, it should be short, to the point. Focus on the process rather than the grade, that is, focus on the learning rather than the result, and offer actionable strategies for moving forward. And I love this quote by Stephen Levitt that says, "The key to learning is feedback. It is nearly impossible to learn anything without it." And that is true. Now, 2 techniques for you to give feedback to your learners. This one is the one that I use, the glow and grow technique. So first you highlight what the student did well, and then you suggest 1 or 2 areas for improvement with specific strategies. And then second strategy or technique is the sandwich technique. You start with a positive observation, then you provide constructive feedback or constructive criticism with clear, actionable steps, and then you end with encouragement or a next step. Now, the entire point of feedback is to provide guidance on how to close the gap between where the student is at and their goal. All right, another idea. Exit tickets. They are short assessment tools used at the end of the lesson, and they are great to help our learners become aware of their learning process. This is the typical exit ticket we can give to primary school students in which they have to rate themselves from a scale on a scale from 1 to 5, and they have to color the stars and say where they are in their learning process. But there are other ways in which we can assess this. For example, sentence starters. You can give your students sentences like, today I learned that, or one thing I found interesting was, or post-it notes. You can give your students sticky notes and ask them to write a summary of the lesson or questions they have from the lesson, yes, or doubts or whatever it is, and then post it on a poster, and the teacher then have a look at all the questions and summaries and reflections the students did. Then another example of an exit ticket is the learning ladder. In the learning ladder, the teacher could draw a big ladder on the board or on a poster, and then students have to paste sticky notes or draw steps on the ladder, on the learning ladder, and say where they are. Are they ready for the next challenge? Are they on track? Or are they stuck, not moving forward? Yeah, this is another way for us teachers know where our students are. Okay, now moving to magical element number 3, which is relatedness. Yeah, this is all about relationships. Learners need to feel connected to and cared for by others, right? They need to feel part of a community. They need to feel that they are safe in the classroom. And I will read this quote that I loved when I read it. And it says, belonging feels like it happens from the inside out, but in fact, it happens from the outside in. Our social brains light up when they receive a steady accumulation of almost invisible cues. We are close, we are safe, we share a future. So, some activities to develop relatedness in the classroom. So, first one, drama. You know, drama is one of the best tools I think we teachers have to develop relatedness in the classroom. Why? Because students start working together towards a shared purpose, yes, and relationships between them become stronger. They bond when they work on role plays, when they work on plays, flash mobs. There are plenty of activities. Drama games are also great to develop this connection among students in the classroom. Then stories are also great because it helps students. They help students to talk about their feelings, talk about their emotions, talk about their worries, right? And finally, community building activities. With community building activities, we are encouraging collaboration and active participation in the group. But that is not all. On the one hand, we know that students must feel connected to the class, to their classmates, to their teacher, but it's also very important that our students feel connected to the content, yes, to what we are teaching. So help your learners feel connected to the content, right? And how can we do this? These are some writing prompts I gave to my learners, and I made some very simple changes. I added some very popular names that we all know, particularly here in Argentina, that I know my students are fans. And in a very simple writing prompt, I introduced that name. So, for instance, you are Dibu Martinez. Write an essay describing your experience living in London. What are the advantages and disadvantages of living in a foreign country? Or, on your birthday, you've decided to spend the day alone, avoiding any celebrations. But when you hear a knock at your door, you open it to find Taylor Swift with a guitar. She says she wrote a song just for you. Or it's the day of the big game, but you've decided to skip it because you're feeling down. Just as you settle in to watch from home, there's a knock at the door. It's Lionel Messi holding a pair of soccer cleats with your name on them. So you see, with very simple things, we can, our students can approach the task in a completely different way. Yes, by using what they like. Yes, and take it to our own advantage. So, relatedness to the content, relatedness to the group, yes, to the community, to the classroom community. And now fun with purpose. This is our fourth element, okay? And I truly believe that when students are having fun, they connect learning with positive experience, which make it much more memorable, yeah? And there are different games that we can play in the classroom. Of course, there are hundreds of games, but I'm going to explain just my students' favorite games. The first one is Pac-Man. In Pac-Man, students stand in a circle, a big circle, and they have to pass two balloons. The balloons have different colors, and Pac-Man has to eat the other balloon. Pac-Man can change directions, but not the other one. So if a student happens to have both balloons at the same time, he or she answers a question. Any question about any topic you might be working in class. Now, another verb, verb splash, another game. In verb splash, two students stand one facing the other with a spray bottle in the middle. Their teacher asks any question, and the first student to grab the spray bottle has the right to answer. If the answer is correct, he sprays some water on the opponent. This game is very, very funny. And the other one, odd one out with a twist, is a speaking activity that can turn into a game. You divide your students into groups of 4 or 5, and you give each student a picture or a word. And what they have to do is to describe the picture they have or the word they have and decide which picture is the one that does not belong. Yes, they have to do all this through speaking. So it's a speaking activity and a game, both things at the same time. Now, another important thing that we have to take into account is movement. We must make our students move in the classroom, because movement improves concentration, movement improves memory, yes, cognitive functions. That's why movement is very important. Yes, we cannot have students seated 60 minutes in the classroom. We have to make them move from time to time. And these activities are fantastic and fun at the same time. Now, concentric circles. In this activity, you will have 2 different circles, an outside circle and an inside circle. And you play some music, and students have to rotate in different directions. When the music stops, students have to start answering a question or discussing whatever topic might be for 2 or 3 minutes with the person that is opposite. Yeah. Then the teacher plays the music again, and they start circulating, yes, and in the circle, opposite directions. The music stops, and they start talking with the person opposite them. Right? I usually repeat the same question a couple of times because I think iteration is extremely important for our students to retain and memorize information and learn information. Now, musical bingo. This is another very fun activity. In this activity, you divide your students into groups, okay? And you give them a worksheet to complete. But here's the twist. You play some music and students have to stand up and dance to the music around their desks. When the music stops, they have to rush to the nearest worksheet. It doesn't matter if it is their worksheet or a worksheet from their classmates. They have to rush to the one that is near them and start completing the worksheet. Then you play the music again, they stand up, and the same procedure is repeated. The group that wins is the group that finishes all the worksheets first, right? Now, discussion stations. This one is very easy to prepare. You write some questions for discussion on a piece of paper, on a large piece of paper, and you paste it around your classroom. And you let your students to go to the different stations and start discussing that question for 2-3 minutes, and then rotate to another station. As simple as that, yes? All right, now recapping. We have talked about how to promote autonomy through projects, through choice boards, through Genius Hour, and through goal settings, teaching students self-management skills. We also talked about how to develop competence, and we can do that through growth mindset activities, giving correct feedback, and exit tickets. Then we also learned how to foster relatedness through drama, stories, community building activities, and connecting students' interests to the content we are teaching. And finally, we learn how to infuse some kind of fun in our classrooms through games and movement. Now, I have for you a magical toolkit. What you have to do is to scan the code, and you will get access to a Google document where you will find these activities that I have already mentioned, plus other activities and other games and other sources for you to read, yes, and start this 2025 with a lot of energy and enthusiasm. Okay, now, just wrapping things up, I want to show you a clip from one of my favorite movies, School of Rock. And what I want you to do is to watch the clip and reflect on these questions that I wrote here. If you want, you can write some answers in the chat box, but if you don't want, that's okay. It's perfect. It's for us to reflect, yeah? The questions are, how does Dewey foster a sense of relatedness in his classroom, ensuring that every student feels valued and included? Question number 2, what does he do to nurture students' sense of competence, helping them gain confidence in their abilities? And number 3, in what ways do collaboration, creativity enhance students' autonomy, allowing students to take ownership of their learning? So let's watch the clip.
Hey, ho, ha. What is that?
What's what?
What are you playing?
Just something I wrote.
You wrote a song? Well, let's hear it.
Nah, it's not that good.
Come on, I want to hear it, Kurt Cobain.
Okay, but I'm not much of a singer.
It's all right.
Baby, we were making straight A's, but we were stuck in the dumb days. Don't take much to memorize your lies. Feel like I've been hypnotized.
Wait, you wrote that? You wrote that? Okay, that's it. You guys rock and roll positions.
What are you doing?
What am I doing? We're going to learn your song.
But why?
Because that's what bands do, man. Play each other's songs. You got lyrics? Look me up. No more secret songs. All right, Lawrence. No more reading. Time for rock. Get on the drum. Bass it up. What was that first chord?
D.
Play it.
C. C.
C.
Baby, we were making straight A's.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we were stuck in the dumb days. Don't take much to memorize your lies. And if you wanna be the teacher's man, baby, you just better forget it. Rock is the reason, rock is the rhyme.
You know what would be better though?
You better.
You know what would be better if it was rock got no reason, rock got no rhyme. You know, can we try that? And also we need some ooh la las. So like ooh la la la, ooh la la la. Try that at the chorus, okay? Can we take it from the chorus?
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. And if you wanna be the teacher's man, baby, you just better forget it. Rock got no reason, rock got no rhyme. You better get me to school on time. And if you wanna be the teacher's man, baby, you just better forget it. Rock got no reason, rock got no rhyme. You better get me to school on time.
I'm gonna take a solo there if it's cool with you.
All right.
And then you can solo later.
Okay.
But let me just rock a solo there. I can feel it.
Okay, so I hope you like this clip, and if you haven't watched the movie, I highly recommend it to you. Yes. Okay. So these were my references. They still are my references for you, just in case you wanted to know. And this is my Instagram, if in case you have questions or you want to contact me. And thank you very much, British Council, for the invitation to be here.
Thank you, Paula. Fantastic ideas to engage and motivate learners. There were a gazillion comments in the chat about the working with quotes from different sports people, working with songs, different techniques that participants shared for giving feedback. We're going to try and highlight a few. And we have questions. If you have questions and you want to put them in the chat, that'd be great. Some people need to look at the QR code again. So perhaps, Paula, in a few minutes when we finish, if you want to leave the link instead of the QR, that might be
okay. Yes, I can do that. And I can write
right
it
now
in the chat box.
Exactly. Or otherwise, we promise we're going to be sending all the materials for all 10 sessions of ELT Week at some point towards the end of the week. But sometimes questions get lost in between all the thank yous and goodbyes. So if you have questions, make sure you write question so we can pick them up. And in the meantime, I collected a couple during the session. One of the participants, Nat Parisi, was asking, can you explain Pac-Man again?
The game.
The game.
Okay, yes, it's very simple. Yes, very simple. You have to put your students in a circle. Yes, they have to be.
Is it just me, or did we just lose Paula? I think we just may have lost Paula there, so you may need to wait a few minutes to go back to Pac-Man. And in the meantime, I'm going to be reading a few of the comments while we wait for Paula to get back, if at all possible. Gisela Zainabe left in the chat a suggestion for another video talking about growth mindset, a famous NBA player, and I dare not pronounce the name, but he talks about a step towards success and that there is no failure in sports. So feel free to look that up. And she said if you have the link, you can share it in the chat. Clarissa also shared an interesting technique for providing feedback to learners using the traffic lights. Green was things that learners could manage without problems. Yellow, what they thought they needed a little more practice about. And red, things that they needed to go over again. So this is fantastic for developing learners' autonomy and allowing them to self-assess at the end of a lesson as a kind of exit ticket, like Paula suggested. There were other comments having to do with drama, using drama and using stories.
I'm back.
You're back.
I don't know.
Okay, there you go.
Because I have internet at home.
I was just improvising,
Okay.
don't worry.
No. Okay, I was explaining Pac-Man. So students stand in a circle, yes, and they have to pass 2 balloons with different colors. One balloon is Pac-Man, and that balloon has to eat the other one. So they have to pass both balloons. Pac-Man can change directions. And if by any chance a student has both balloons at the same time, that student answers a question, yes, to revise any topic, yes, depending on what your students are seeing at that time. But it's basically that. Very simple. Brilliant. And my students love it. Love that game. It's their favorite.
Awesome. We have another comment by Mariana Goldman, who recommends Venus Williams' reading of Maya Angelou's poem, Still I Rise.
More women. Yes. Yes, thank you. Thank you for that comment. Yes.
Many suggestions in the chat of songs and movies people like.
Okay, love it.
I have one other question from Daniela Monica Huisi, who asks, what would they complete on a worksheet when they work with song lyrics?
Oh, well, that depends on what your purpose is. Yes, if you want your students to reflect on growth mindset, I usually give them the lyrics. They read the lyrics and they get some questions for them to discuss or write, I don't know, a short paragraph about it. Yeah, but if that is the purpose, to help them reflect, okay, just questions for them to work in groups and exchange ideas, okay? But I think that might be one activity you can do with your learners, yes, to help them reflect.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. And I think we have a bit of time for a few more. So Victoria Cordova asks in the chat if you have any idea for middle school or above, and we got a few of even older teenagers or even adults, because they are not so keen sometimes on games, at least not the type
you
of
mean
games that involve balloons and stuff. So yes, would you recommend any games for adult learners?
I don't have adult students, so I don't have many ideas. I don't know them well. I usually work with teenagers and kids. That's my area of expertise. But I think that you should investigate on some kind of games that they might like, because I think that we all like playing, even adults like playing. So try to investigate a little bit about what are the games that they might like, yes, and try to be like, I don't know, Sherlock Holmes and trying to see, yes, survey their students, your students, and see what they like and how you can adapt their interests and put those interests into games. Yeah, but I think that all students like games, even adults. Yes, and I have teenagers, and my teenagers love playing games. Yes, they are crazy for them.
Definitely. I'm going to suggest just a couple, and I encourage teachers in the chat to also share your favorites.
Yeah,
something that is tried and tested and requires zero preparation, and it's good for speaking, is the 2 truths and 1 lie, where you get people to say 3 things about themselves. It's great for the start of lessons as a getting to know each other activity, where I can say, for example, I'm from London, I'm 41 years old, and my favorite food is chicken and potatoes. And you have to guess which of those 3 was a lie. You can do it with any kind of language, from beginners to advanced learners. I think you can guess right there that I'm not from London. So that was the lie. And it's very fun, especially if people use fun facts. And we have lots of other ideas in the chat. People are mentioning bingo, alphabet race.
Yes.
These are ideas that have been around since the beginning of time and are really do work in the EFL classroom.
Yes, they do.
Taboo,
yes, they do.
Vanessa
Taboo,
mentioned,
yes.
where you have to describe a word without mentioning some keywords. And these are very low prep games, so they really do work. You can play Guess Who with adults. Somebody also mentioned in the chat, Aldana Heinze. So many ideas that we can then revisit the chat and pick some up.
Yes, Mariana said sometimes there's initial resistance, but people need to learn to play. Yes, once they get used to it, yeah, they love it.
Definitely. And we have so many ideas. I lost all the other questions. So if you have any questions, make sure to leave them. Somebody in the chat had asked, and I lost the comment, but I'll look for it. When you talked about menus, in terms of giving learners choices. And
yes, the choice board.
The choice boards. What would you put in a choice board? Do you use it for homework? Do you use it for classroom activities?
Yeah, it all depends on what you are working in class. Yeah, sometimes I give choice boards for homework. Yeah, sometimes I give choice boards for practice. Yes, before an exam, before a test, I give them different activities for them to practice. But they do not have to do all of them. They just choose the ones that align more with their interests, with their skills. But mainly is that, yes, as homework or for, yes, the idea is to practice before an exam. So they choose the activities they want to do, yeah, in order to revise.
Yes, this was Carolina Ficarra. I found it in the chat. She was asking if you could explain choice boards. I think what's important when you give learners choice boards is you give them like a perceived sense of choice, but in the end, it's like all the choices have to be cleverly designed so that
they all have the same purpose.
They all have the same purpose, right? So whether it is, okay, you can write a text on a piece of paper, or you can create a PowerPoint presentation about your favorite footballer.
Exactly.
Then the aim.
But they feel much more motivated when they have the possibility of choosing what they want. Yes. So sometimes even when we are working with a textbook, and the textbook has lots of exercises, and I tell them, well, okay, choose.
I think we may be losing Paula again. Just I invite you to read the comments, and perhaps you have a lot more ideas than we do. People mentioning tic-tac-toe, people mentioning trivia games, lots of controversy over the spray bottle and whether this is a good idea or not. I personally think it is, but with care. Paula, you're back.
I'm back. I don't know what's the matter today. It never happened to me.
What's the matter?
I disappear and then I turn up again. So sorry. You know, technology.
And that's why we need to have screenless engagement.
Yes, that was what I was going to say, yes.
Because sometimes you do plan a lesson with videos, with using the overhead projector, and then nothing works. There is no Wi-Fi. So it's always a good idea to have a plan B, C, and D. People mentioning brain gym as well in the chat. Trivia games with options. And I think something very lazy that does work is to have trivia games where they have to invent the questions, so you really don't have to prepare much. So you get them to work in groups, prepare questions for the quiz, and then everybody plays the quiz together. It's lots of fun. and you don't have to work too hard for it. Do I have the QR or the link before we lose Paula? I do, but I don't know how to share the link in the chat from the computer that I'm on. But I promise I will put it in the chat when we finish the live broadcast.
Yes, if not, you can send me a message on Instagram and I can send the link.
Yes, for people who couldn't scan the thing. Paula, what's your @handle on Instagram?
Is the Resourceful English Teacher. You can find me there.
Okay, no dot, no dash, no nothing. Just
the Resourceful English Teacher, yes.
Perfect. Okay, and something Eliana mentions is to focus on every kind of learner and not just kids at bilingual schools. And do you think the ideas that you presented today would work with learners who perhaps only have 1 hour of English a week, who have low language level? Is this your experience?
Absolutely. Yes. And students who do not have a high level of English can turn to their own language, to their mother tongue, and then scaffolding. We as teachers have the resources to help them start speaking little by little, but why not using at the very beginning their mother tongue? Yes, that's not I remember that when I studied at the teacher training college, talking about speaking your mother tongue was, I don't know, like a thing, but why not using it when they are they are beginners? Yes. And then little by little, start exposing them, my dog, start exposing them to the language and, stepping stones, little by little.
Absolutely. And the British Council has recently released a statement on multilingual approaches. And it looks like the trend is so much veering away from forbidding mother tongue at all costs in the classroom to something that is more realistic, more feasible, more inclusive. So definitely. And people are also commenting on your puppy in the chat.
I have three dogs. It was a miracle that none of them barked today, but well, at the end, they had to do it.
Brilliant. Okay, so I think we are good to wrap this up. We could continue talking about this forever. I invite everybody to read the comments because there's so many ideas from fellow teachers about games that they play, about activities that work, that it's a shame to not be able to mention them all. And Paula, a massive thank you for all the ideas that you shared, for all the material that you share. And
thank you.
We'll definitely be following you.
The audience, because they were amazing, giving lots of ideas. Yes, this is the idea of this kind of conference, is to learn together, to share ideas, because we are all teachers and we can learn from each other. So thank you so much. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. Have a great evening. And for some final housekeeping, we are finished with our sessions for the day, but we do have some really interesting sessions tomorrow and throughout the rest of the week. Tomorrow, we have Jake McMillan talking about the future of English and implications for teachers, as well as Marcela Villan talking about bridging gaps and promoting inclusion through the sustainability development goals in our classrooms. So you can't miss those, as well as the rest of our program, which is available in the British Council website, and it will be hosted here on YouTube throughout the rest of the week. So I invite you to check out the full program at the website and come back tomorrow. Have a fantastic evening, and I'll see you here, same time, same place. Bye.